back the valves and refill with content. Mr. Ali Sr. says that the addendum dated 14th May 2021, which is at page 46 to the exhibits of his amplified witness statement, also clarified that this is what Paria wanted, as it expressly stated that the contractor was responsible for the safe removal of the hydrocarbon content from the line and to ensure that the line was clear and dry. He says that LMCS did not think that complete removal of the line content was the safest method of work execution. LMCS's proposal, according to Mr. Ali Sr., comprised a method statement as well as a risk assessment. LMCS prepared the method statement and the risk assessment, which he says was accepted by Paria. The original method statement, which was submitted to Paria, did not propose the removal of the entire contents of sea line 36. Mr. Ali Sr. estimated that the contents to be removed from the topside piping would have been approximately 300 barrels, and he says this method statement was accepted by Paria, which did not ask any questions about the method. Mr. Ali Sr. says that he did not propose the removal of the entire line content between berths 5 and 6 because LMCS wanted to set the plug on a solid leg of liquid. LMCS did not mention delta P in the method statement or risk assessment, but that was to be taken care of by ensuring that there would have been no pressure difference between the plugs. He said that everything LMCS did was to avoid creating a void in the pipeline, which is why LMCS tried to ensure that it had a column of liquid under the plug in the riser. He further stated at page 2860 that LMCS only sought to remove enough content in the riser at berth 6 to create a 30-foot ullage, which would also have created a 30-foot ullage at the riser at berth 5. Mr. Ali Sr.'s evidence is that the method statement proposed the use of an air pump at an open riser at berth 6 to create a 30-foot ullage at berth 6 to install the plugs, which led to new method statements. This would have involved introducing an air pump at an open riser at berth 6. He said that at the kickoff meeting around 29th June 2021, after LMCS was awarded the 2021-2022 contract, LMCS and Paria looked at the job in some detail. He said that the proposal with respect to the air pump was not practical because LMCS would have had to remove the flange from the top of the riser in order to get the pump in, and this risked water entering the riser. He also said that as early as the kickoff meeting, LMCS and Paria discussed the method proposed by LMCS of using the air pump. This led to Paria developing and approving an instruction dated 5th January 2022, this is at CB 1033, for using air by way of an air pump to remove the liquid. LMCS also developed new method statements for line clearing, namely number 108, dated the 1st of December 2021, this is at CB 1028, and number 115, dated 5th February 2022, this is at CB 1041, both of which specifically relate to line clearing. Mr. Ali Sr. said that the method of line clearing in LMCS's method statement and Paria's instructions contemplated air blowing instead of an air pump, and the first phase was the removal of the contents of the topside piping by air blowing from berth 5 into sea line 36. Once the topside piping was cleared of content, the tie-in piping between the topside piping and the riser would be removed at berth 6. The second phase was the creation of a 30-foot ullage in the riser at berth 6, which would also create a 30-foot ullage in the riser at berth 5. Mr. Ali Sr. says that there were numerous oral discussions with Paria's Terence Rampersad Singh, who was told that LMCS was not clearing the pipeline between berths 5 and 6, but only creating a 30-foot space to set the plug. Mr. Ali Sr. says it was his impression that Paria understood that this was the method. He says LMCS never changed the original objective of getting that 30-foot ullage. Mr. Ali Sr. also says that he did not think from the work instructions that Paria wanted LMCS to clear the entire Sea Line 36. He says that Paria did not do their own assessments for the clearing of the lines, but had oversight and final approval of all method statements and job hazard analyses, JHAs. Mr. Ali Sr. maintains that the removal of the contents from the riser to achieve a 30-foot ullage was done in one day in a few hours. He did not see the permit to work for that part of the job and was not present for the toolbox meeting for that job. He says that when LMCS opened the top of the riser at berth 6, the ullage was about 4 feet. LMCS disconnected the hose which was going to Sea Line 66 and connected it to the slop barge. He says that the method of air blowing directly into Sea Line 66 to achieve the 30-foot ullage in the riser was not effective, so LMCS decided to transfer the contents directly to the slop barge. LMCS blew, meaning introduced air pressure, then bled off the air pressure in the line and measured a few times until the 30-foot ullage was achieved. The measuring was at the berth 6 riser. Mr. Ali Sr. says that LMCS did not measure the volume removed, but got an indication from the number of barges which were filled. The slop barge was filled 2.5 times. One slop barge has a capacity of 25 barrels, so LMCS removed approximately 60 barrels. Further, that the line clearing was done in January 2022 over a 2-week period, and that the change in technique from air pump to air blowing could not have resulted in more of the contents of Sea Line 36 being removed, because LMCS was measuring the ullage as they were executing the line clearing. Mr. Ali Sr. says that LMCS did not discuss the possibility of a differential pressure in the method statement or the risk assessment, because the steps which it took should have eliminated this. Mr. Ali Sr. also says that LMCS's proposal was on the basis that the horizontal section of the line was flat. He said that in working before on the pipe and on Sea Line 36 and 66, LMCS did not encounter anything but a flat profile. Moreover, that Terence Rampersad Singh was the person who oversaw the project on behalf of Paria, and there were daily meetings with LMCS through Kazim Ali Jr. and Mr. Rampersad Singh. Mr. Ali Sr. says that all method statements were done by him, and Paria received and approved the method statements and risk assessments submitted. Installation of plugs and hyperbaric chamber. Mr. Ali Sr. said that the plugs were installed on 13th February 2022 together with the hyperbaric chamber. He said that when the chamber was installed, LMCS did a function test. He also said that the chamber, which comprised a cube 8 feet by 8 feet by 8 feet, had been constructed by LMCS and used twice before. It was not constructed on any specific code or standard, and Paria did not require any specific information in relation to the chamber, although Paria had inspected the modification works on it. Mr. Ali Sr. says that LMCS wanted to complete the chamber works within a 4-day window to limit changes in the condition in the line behind the plug. Meeting on 14th February 2022. On 14th February 2022, Paria had requested a meeting. Terence Rampersad Singh and other Paria personnel were present, and he, meaning Mr. Ali Sr., Mr. Ahmed Ali, and Mr. Kazim Ali Jr. were present, and copies of the method statement were distributed. Mr. Ali Sr. says that there were no formal notes or minutes of the meeting, and no issues were raised by anyone, and at the time of the meeting, both the plug and the chamber had been installed, and he outlined a work plan which included the removal of the plugs, followed by the installation of a flange at the top of.
By 20, 50 by 25.
This is Kyron Pollard. When you play, do it the legal way. Don't bet on illegal gaming.
Change your fate. Start to win at life with $20,000 every month. Win $20,000 every month for 20 years with NLCB's newest game, Win for Life. 6 numbers from 28 plus the cash ball could make you win for life. You deserve a win. Play Win for Life today. Visit NLCBGames.com for details. Players must be 18 years and over. Please play responsibly.
Welcome to this morning's Playway Pick 2 and Pick 4 draw, supervised by independent auditors KPMG and presided over by the National Lotteries Control Board. Good luck, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome to the NLCB's Playway Pick 2 and Pick 4 draw for Monday, 5th December 2022. First we'll draw this morning's Playway number. And the winning number is 19, the lucky mark horse. That number again, 19, the lucky mark horse. Our Mega Mix machine is preloaded. Our Mega Christmas payouts are $90 when the Mega Ball calls, $110 when the Mega Ultra Ball calls, and $130 when the Mega Extreme Ball calls. Remember, Mega options cost an additional $1. And now for Mega Mix selection. Players, Playway number 19, the lucky mark horse has called with all 3 white balls. Keep on playing. You've won the base payout of $26 for every $1 played. Play the Mega Mix options for even merrier prizes. Next we draw this morning's Pick 2 numbers. And the first Pick 2 number is 23. That number again is 23. Now for a second Pick 2 number. And the second Pick 2 number is 1. That number again is 1. Our Pick 2 numbers are 23 and 1 in that order. And now for Christmas promotion. Our machine is loaded with the Mega Ball and 2 white balls. If the white ball calls, there'll be no extra payout. Once players wager a minimum $5 on the Mega Ball, they can win the base prize of $2,000 plus the Mega to the Max Christmas prize of $6,000 if they match 2 numbers in the correct order. Players Pick 2 numbers 23 and 1 in that order have called with a white ball. Keep on playing and turn up your odds this Christmas with 1 in 3 chances of a mega payout. And now for Pick 4 numbers. The first Pick 4 number is 2. That number again is 2. The second Pick 4 number is 8. That number again is 8. The third Pick 4 number is 2. That number again is 2. And the fourth and final Pick 4 number is 7. That number again is 7. I'll repeat, this morning's winning Pick 4 numbers are 2, 8, 2 and 7 in that order. Congratulations to all our Playway, Pick 2 and Pick 4 winners. Make your money multiply with the new Lotto Plus multiplier. For an extra $5, you can multiply your non-jackpot prizes up to 20 times. Wednesday's Lotto Plus jackpot is now an estimated $5,800,000. In some Cashpot news, last week 50 lucky players won Cashpot jackpots. Congratulations. Hit the Cashpot jackpot. And players, High Rollers Club is NLCB's newest $30 scratch game. You get 20 chances to win the top prize of $300,000 with 2 bonus chances to win instantly. Pick up your High Rollers Club tickets today and make your big money move. Thank you for joining us. Do so again at 1 p.m. for the Playway, Pick 2 and Pick 4 draw.
rescue plan with him. He recalls Catherine Balkisoon, Paul Airwood, Michael Wee, and Rajiv Mangali being present, walking in and out of the meeting. Mr. Ali Sr. said that Catherine Balkisoon told him that she did not think it was safe to send divers into the pipeline, and that Paria had a plan to pump out the line and send in confined space experts to take the men out. He says he assumed she was still talking rescue, as no one was talking recovery. He told her he saw the pumps, but these could not pump out the line, and in any event, Paria was not going to get anyone to go 60 feet into a dry pipe. Mr. Ali Sr. then told Catherine Balkisoon of his rescue plan, and she seemed amenable, but said she would have to run it by Mushtaq Mohammed, who was in a meeting, so that Mr. Ali Sr. waited in the conference room. At about 4 p.m., Mushtaq said he would like to speak to the rescue diver Conan Beddoe, who was in Sangre Grande. Sunday, 27th February 2022. At 10 a.m., Mr. Ali Sr. and Conan Beddoe met Colin Piper together with Mushtaq Mohammed, Paul Airwood, and a lady from Heritage. Conan told Paria about his diving experience and showed him his CV. Conan's dad, who was also a diver, assured Paria that it was safe and he would be the topside man. Paria then showed video footage of the tank in the line and that it was jammed about 200 feet in the line. Conan said there would be no problem moving it. Paria said, however, that they wanted something in writing, and LMCS asked for the footage to be sent to them. Mr. Ali Sr. says that LMCS emailed the rescue plan to Paria at about 2:19 p.m., but never received the video footage. There was another meeting after 2:30 p.m. with the same Paria persons as before, but in addition there was a Coast Guard officer, one Mr. Fuentes from OTSL, as well as Heritage persons. Mr. Fuentes had a problem with the diver's apparel and radiation in the line, and that the rescuer's diving suit would not give him sufficient protection. Paul Airwood said he did not think that there would be much radiation there, as the pipeline did not have crude oil. The Coast Guard officer also said that it was not safe, but did not say why, and Mushtaq Mohammed then said that they were looking at recovery. Mr. Ali Sr. says that LMCS did not agree with this, saying that if there was the slightest chance that anyone was alive, they deserved a chance to be saved. He said he was ignored and he got the impression that Paria had made their minds up long before. Mr. Ali Sr. also says that he did not think Paria intended a rescue, and conversely, he was confident about the rescue. He says he was a diver trained since 1981, and that diving in a pipeline means that you would not have the usual dangers of ocean currents, boat propellers, predators, getting snagged in fishing nets or debris. He said that the pipe was big enough and it would be safe enough to dive in the pipe. Further, that Christopher had come out unaided because nothing was in his way. What caused the accident? Mr. Ali Sr. says in hindsight, there had to be differential pressure which caused the plug to move. He said he does not know what caused the difference in the pressure from the top to the bottom of the plug, but believes it could have been due to the undulating pipe and the air trapped there. He says that when LMCS put the plug in, there was liquid under the plug, but during those 10 days after the plug was put in, to 25th February 2022, the conditions could have changed. He says, again in hindsight, that if he was instructed that or had known the pipeline was not flat but undulating, he would have included in the method statement a step of measuring the pressure at both risers. And if the pressure was not equal, he would have equalized the pressure before removing the plugs. He says that on a level line, the pressure would be equal, and that an inspection of the line by a diving team would not have revealed if it was not level, as it was in concrete covered in mud under the seabed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The first thing I want to ask you, please, before Mr. Maharaj asks you some questions, is you've heard that summary of the interviews that you've given to our team, together with the original statement that you made. Does that summary accurately reflect what you have told us?
It does.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Maharaj has a few questions before I pass you on to anyone else. Before he does that, I just want one thing you could help me with. in that summary, and indeed in your statement, you say that once you'd heard that the divers had gone missing, you took the view that there was only one place they could be. That was inside the pipe. Right?
Correct.
Now, first thing is this. We know that, that they all went missing sometime during the course of that afternoon, but that Mr. Boudram came out at about 2:45. I think we've got that right. Sorry?
After
No,
5.
no, forgive
After
me.
5.
They went missing at 2:45, I think that's right. So you were advised that Mr. Boudram had come out at about 5.
Correct, yeah.
At that time, did you know when they went missing, how long it had been?
I'm not sure it's in the statement there, but I was informed at about 3 o'clock
That
that the
gone
divers
missing?
were missing. I went
Right.
out onto the barge by about 3:15. At that stage, Paria had done a seabed inspection as well as an inspection inside of the chamber. When he told me there was nothing from in the chamber on the seabed, which would have been bolt spanners, then we assumed that everything was sucked into the pipeline.
Right.
So
You
very
made that
early
assumption.
in the game, we realized that they weren't floating around the water.
Well, that's what I want to ask you now.
Yeah.
We realised, you said this in your statement, between the time when they went missing and Mr. Boudram coming out, that there was a point in time when you took the view that they must be in the pipe. That's what you've said so far.
Yeah,
right?
that's about 3:15. I'd say.
And that was about 3:15 then, so maybe a half an hour or so after they'd gone missing.
Yeah,
all right?
correct.
You also said that you thought that if there was no air pockets in the pipe at all, and they were reliant entirely on the tanks that must have been sucked in.
Correct. Until Boudram came out, we didn't even think about air pockets in the line.
I follow that, exactly.
Yeah.
So you assumed that they had about an hour
Correct,
or
yeah.
so of air that they could have extracted from the tanks that would have been sucked in with
From the tanks.
Right. So from 2:45, when they went missing,
Yeah.
you'd have about an hour, say to 3:45, to
Correct.
effect any kind of rescue if they were going to be rescued alive, as far as you were concerned.
Well, could I clarify this a bit?
Yes.
If all 5 survived, then they'll be using 1 bottle each, so they'll have about. But depending on how many survive, the survivors would have a longer time.
Sure.
So, like, if one diver had survived, he would have 5 tanks himself.
If he had them.
Yeah, because the others wouldn't be using it.
Right.
At that time, one of the divers had his full gear on him when they were sucked in, which happened to be my son. So when he had survived, he would have the rest of the tanks.
Right.
So there was a time of an hour at the least. It took probably about 4 hours if one diver had survived
Right.
and had all the bottles.
So if the others were, in fact, had died already
Yeah,
inside,
correct.
you were surmising in your own mind that your son would have had his tank on.
Well, at that time, I didn't even know it was my son. I knew it was one diver with a tank.
All right. But all I want to try and understand is this, is that you'd said that you thought they would have an hour.
Minimum.
A
Yeah.
minimum of an hour, right?
That's if all 5 survived.
I got you. And if not, the maximum might be 5 hours.
With one, yeah.
Right. The net result of that would have been that you had that window, a maximum window of 5 hours, in order
Correct.
to effect a rescue,
Correct, yeah.
and a minimum of hopefully a minimum of 1
Of
hour.
1 hour, yeah.
So before Mr. Boudram came out, that was the window that you felt was available to you and others, those working at Paria and so on,
Correct.
to effect the rescue.
Correct.
Right, all right. Well, we know already from some of the evidence we've heard what happened in that window. We know already from some of the evidence that we've heard what happened during the course of that window, all right?
Yeah.
And if I'm right about this, can I understand that by the time when Mr. Boudram did come out and had explained that there were air pockets, that would have given you hope, obviously.
Well, everybody on the barge.
Of course. And did you have any idea at that stage what would be the time scale? Did you have any idea of the size of potentially this air pocket or any of that information?
Yeah, no, at that stage you were just going on hope. I mean, I calculated afterwards you had about 1,500 cubic feet of air. How long that would last at that depth, I really was guessing. Right. So what kept us going is we heard this continuous knocking coming from the pipeline. Right.
So the first thing that happened after your estimate of the time period that they might have of 1 to 5 hours,
correct,
was Mr. Boudram coming out
and giving definite proof of life.
Yeah, exactly, at around 5 o'clock when you were told that. And then whatever air pocket, whatever size air pocket there might have been, did you put again any sort of time scale on what you thought might be the period of time that they might survive?
I didn't really. It was just as urgent as possible to get people in there.
All right. Thank you. And lastly, this. Once you had made the decision, the assumption, that they must have been sucked into the pipeline, you said at about 3:15 or so you'd come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Did you tell anyone else?
As I said, they were all gathered around me on the barge.
Who's they?
Paria and LMCS people.
Who particularly at Paria?
There would have been, I remember Dobson, as I said in my statement, somebody bought a chair for me to sit down. And there would have been the offshore supervisor. And I'd missed it in that statement, but later on I picked it up. I'd actually spoken to Mr. Piper while I was on the barge. And I'd explained to him that the men were in the pipe.
Before Mr. Boudram came out?
Yeah, that's at 3:20 or 3:25. I got a call from Mr. Piper, and he confirms that in his statement as well, that the men were in there. And if you look at the time at the whiteboard that Paria had in there, Incident Command Office.
Yeah.
There's a statement there from the HSC guy, that about 3:48, saying the men had survival was very slim.
Right.
The only reason you would say that is if you consider they were in the pipeline, because we know if people are out in the open sea, they can last a couple of days before you call them off dead. So I'm saying the only reason he would say that is because he heard me saying that the men were in the pipeline.
Just so that I understand it, yeah. Whatever the position, whatever they might have believed, whatever the conclusions that officers from Paria might have come to, and we'll hear more about that in due course, so that I'm clear, you told them that it was your belief that they were in the pipeline.
I did.
And you told them that inside the hour or so that was the minimum period of time.
I did.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Maharaj.
Much obliged, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ali, I know how difficult this is, and I do sympathize with you, but I'm sure you'd appreciate the exercise we're in. We have to try and get as much information as possible. So I know that you have cooperated with the Commission. You have been interviewed on 2 days. But there's a few questions on an important aspect that I want to ask you some questions on. Okay?
Okay.
And it has to do with the line clearing, because I think the line clearing is very important in the light of the expert evidence, which you know about, the Enquiry report. Okay? So before I ask you the question, I just want to refresh your memory from the Enquiry report. And that, Mr. Chairman, is at the supplemental core bundle at page 1394. Yeah, 1394.
So are you at the executive summary?
Executive summary.
Right. All right. Got it.
And at paragraph 2.3, it says the removal of fuel oil from line and the installation of a migration barrier, as stipulated in Paria's scope of works, etc., created a large gaseous void in sea line SL36. This void served as a prerequisite for the latent differential pressure hazard that was created when the habitat was installed and pressurized to facilitate work within the said habitat. The hazards associated with this were overlooked by both Paria and LMCS, and it's referred to a diagram. Then if I could go to paragraph 2.5. This latent hazard existed at the onset of work within the habitat and became active when the divers were attempting to remove the primary seal inflatable plug from within the riser, and they said to see the drawing. 2.6. Not being aware of this latent differential pressure AP condition, incorporating a gaseous void, LMCS divers proceeded to deflate the plug after safe removal of the mechanical seal. On reaching a deflated pressure of approximately 11.4 psig, the resistive force of the plug was then lower than the downward force 4031 lbf on the plug. And if I take you to paragraph 3 at page 1397, at paragraph 3.1.4, changing the method of oil removal from the line from using an air-driven pump as per LMCS method statement to forced air blowing from berth 5 resulted in a dramatic increase in the risk profile of the job. Okay? Now, in your statement that was referred to, your supplemental written statement that was referred to by Mr. Bissessa, under line clearing, and that is a page in the supplemental witness bundle. It starts at page 2855, but at page 2860, at paragraph 30, you stated that the method of line clearing in the method statements and Paria's instructions for use of air blowing instead of an air pump was to be done in 2 phases. So as I understand it, the removal of the fuel from the line of the contents of the line were done in two phases.
Correct, yeah.
Phase 1 was topside.
Correct.
And topside, according to the evidence you have given, you'll tell me if this is correct. You're saying that you removed 300 barrels from topside.
Well, we estimated 300 in the initial method statement. But then when we started blowing, when we changed the method, we weren't just dealing with 36 sea line. We actually crossed over to 66 sea line. So the volume would have changed.
Could you give us an idea?
I couldn't really tell you. 66 sea line was a 50-inch line, so there would have been product of that as well. And some of that was
So it's
moved.
more than 300 barrels or less than 300?
More than 300 barrels.
So in the method you used to remove the contents from topside,
Yeah.
you didn't use an exact measurement, and you just...
No, the initial 300 barrels was an estimate to start with. But that involved just draining 36 sea line above sea level. But when we went to this method here, and we went via 66 sea line, it involved more oil would have been removed than the initial 300. How much it is, I couldn't tell you.
So did you drain sea line 66?
It was used in the clearing, but we didn't drain it. The oil from 36 sea line was pushed into 66. And then all of the 36 and some of 66 would have been moved into the tank farm.
Sorry, I'm not following this.
I'm a bit confused.
Okay. I wonder if would a diagram help, or would it be possible for you to draw a diagram, perhaps? Because I am not following this. Line 36 is the one that was supposed to be drained.
Right. So what we did...
Where does 66 come into it?
66 is another line on number 6 berth.
Right. Are they connected?
So we connected 36 to 66.
Why?
To displace the oil from 36 into 66 and ashore.
Right. So you were draining one from one to the other.
Well, drain might be the right word. Pushed.
Pushing the fluid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call it fluid because we don't know exactly what it was, oil and water mixture, whatever it is, yeah? But you're pushing that fluid from 36 into 66.
Into 66. And then eventually it would end up in a tank ashore.
When you say you're pushing it, I mean...
Well, the air pressure would displace it. It wasn't supposed to be, air wasn't supposed to be blowing through.
Right, so we got...
It would displace, yeah.
We got 36 over here. Right? We got 66 over here.
Yeah.
And you're pushing it from one into the other.
Into the other.
Right, so you've put in some in-between connection, have you?
Yeah.
And then what? A pump or...
no, the air was pushing...
Forcing air in at one
Forcing the air at number 5. Was pushing it all along.
Into this one?
Into that one.
Into 66?
Yeah, and then...
Was 66 empty then?
No, that's full.
So how were you able to push anything from 36 into 66?
So we were pushing from 36 into 66, and the same air pressure would have been felt on 66 and pushing that ashore. But we found out, sorry, are we okay with that one?
No.
No.
I mean, it may be me, and I'm sure Mr. Wilson follows everything you're saying, but I don't, and I need to understand it, please.
Yeah, so we introduced the air at number 5, the riser, 36 riser at number 5 berth. Right? So that would pressurize the line. We made a tie-in between 36 and 66 on number 6 berth.
You created this tie, did you?
Yeah, well, it was between Paria and myself. We actually put a physical connection between the two.
And that was a temporary thing in order to drain one, or to push air into drain the fluid, or push some of the fluid into the other. Is that right?
That's
so there's a temporary connection between the two.
Temporary connection.
Right, I'm understanding that. So where did the fluid then that you were pushing from 36, it goes into 66, where did if that was already full, where did it go?
Well, the end of that was opening to a tank ashore.
Right.
So we pushed it into the...
So that I'm clear, you got 36 over here, 66 over here. You're pushing the fluid from 36 into 66 in order to create something of a void in 36. Yes? In the process of pushing this fluid into 66, it comes out somewhere else in Paria's
in the tank
establishment, yes?
Yeah.
Into a tank.
Correct.
Correct. So is there a way in which you can measure how much you're pushing into this tank?
Yes, they were supposed to measure it at the tank farm.
Who was they?
Paria's tank farm people.
Right, so Paria have some tank people.
Yeah.
And the tank people can measure how much fluid is being pushed through 66 into the tank.
Right.
Is that right?
But at the same time, while they were measuring there, our objective was to get an ullage in the riser at number 6.
No, I follow that.
With the space,
I'm going to come back to that in a minute, if I may. Or Mr. Maharaj will probably. But all I want to understand is, having made this connection between 36 and 66, and pushing the fluid from 36 into 66, and then from 66 into a tank, there is a method by which you can measure how much is going into the tank.
Correct.
Did they tell you how much had gone into the tank?
Correct.
Did they tell you?
No.
Thank you. And now I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay. Did you ask them?
We asked them.
Did you ask operations how much it was?
We asked operations, and we were getting negligible. Negligible was the answer.
I'm sorry?
Negligible was the answer.
Negligible was the answer. All right. That is the top side. Now I come to the phase 2, which was the underwater between berth 5 and berth 6.
Correct.
Right. So as far as you have told, well, in your evidence, tell me if I'm correct, you were only interested, as you said, in getting an ullage of about, I think you said
30 feet. I think it's 30 feet. I can't remember. Yeah.
But about how much oil that would have been?
1 foot of 30-inch pipe is approximately a barrel.
Barrel.
So 30 feet would be 30 barrels.
30 barrels. So, yeah. So, according to you, Mr. Ali,
Yeah.
as far as you are concerned, that in respect of the underwater piping between berth 5 and berth 6, only 30 feet of oil was removed.
All right. At number 36, sea line has 2 risers. All right. When we finished with the first phase,
No, if you could just keep it at berth, I'm talking about this job,
yeah.
right?
One.
So if you,
Okay.
if you could help us.
After we removed 30 barrels of oil,
Yes.
we still didn't reach the 30-foot ullage.
You still did not reach the 30-foot ullage.
Yeah.
But the point is that according to you, as far as you're concerned, you removed 30 barrels or 60 barrels?
About 60 barrels, about
About
2.5.
60 barrels.
Again, we didn't measure it. We were measuring the ullage,
All right.
not the amount of oil.
So as far as LMCS evidence is concerned from you,
Yeah.
from the underwater piping between berth 5 and berth 6, only about 60 barrels of oil were removed.
Correct.
And that evidence is true,
Yeah.
okay?
It is, yeah.
Now, in your witness statement, you said that the method of clearing the lines were changed with the approval of Paria.
Correct.
It was to be air pumping, and then now they changed to air blowing,
Correct, yeah.
correct? So you were blowing air into this line.
Correct.
Now, I want to, before I refer you to the records of Paria as to how much oil was taken out of that line, the underwater line. In your witness statement, at paragraph 42, you said the line clearing was done in January 2022. 2862. Sorry, page 2862. Over a period of 2 weeks. Am I correct?
Correct, yeah.
Correct. And you said it was not a continuous work, but it was done over a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then at paragraph 43, you mentioned about the change in technique from air pump to air blowing. And then you said at paragraph 44, everything being equal, I knew that once there was liquid in the riser directly under the plug, then the horizontal section of the pipe should have been full, and the riser at berth 5 would have an ullage equivalent to that of the riser at berth 6. Once this was achieved, there was no chance of any differential pressure.
Correct.
So am I correct in saying that your conclusion at paragraph 44 was based on your assumption that sea line, the underwater line,
Was
had
full.
fuel? It was full.
Was full, yeah.
Yeah. But you did not take any measurement or any test to determine whether the line was full.
No, the only test we did was we checked the ullage at the riser at number 6.
But when you check the ullage at riser number 6,
Yeah.
you didn't know if there was air on any there or more oil.
You couldn't tell it. In the riser there was oil.
And you checked that with your naked eye
With naked eye and with a tape.
and with a tape. And at paragraph 45, you said, we therefore did not discuss the possibility of a differential pressure in the method statement or the risk assessment because the steps we took should have eliminated this.
Correct, yeah.
Now, you base that opinion, you base that assessment on the basis that you assumed that the pipe was full, the underwater pipe was full.
Correct.
Correct. Now, so you recognize, Mr. Ali, that there could have been a risk of a differential pressure if the underwater pipe was not full.
Correct.
Correct. But from what I saw in the documents, nowhere in the risk assessment which was done for this job, differential pressure was mentioned. Am I correct?
Correct.
Nowhere in the scope of works, I saw that. Am I correct?
Correct.
Nowhere in the job safety analysis, I saw that. Am I correct?
Correct.
Nowhere in the notice to permit the work, I saw that. Am I correct?
Correct.
But you are telling us today that you knew that there was such a risk, but you thought it was eliminated because you assumed that there was liquid content in the underwater piping.
Correct, yeah.
Now, if I want to show you, I want to refer to you some of the records from Paria daily work reports to show that for the underwater piping, there was over 500 barrels of oil taken out from the underwater piping. Would that surprise you?
It would.
It would surprise you. And you would agree with me that if that was taken out, that was a potential differential pressure situation. Not so?
Yep.
Yes. So can we go, Mr. Chairman, to core bundle 2?
Thank you. Just so to remind us the formula that you gave us before, 500 barrels of oil represents about 500 feet of cleared pipe.
Yeah.
That's what it would represent, isn't it?
Well, if it was vertical.
Yes. Well, all things, whatever, I mean, it represents linearly or vertically. If it were possible to do that, that's the length of pipe that we're talking about. Right, thank you.
I am going to start at page 994, core bundle 2. (994), my lord.
994, correct. Okay.
You saw it, Mr. Ali? You have it there before you? Yeah. You're seeing 994?
Yeah,
right?
I am.
Okay. Now I'm going to go through the daily reports and show you the quantity of oil, right? Now, if you look at number 3, under mechanical, and you look across, you see description, and then you see job status. And you see air blowing, and then you see ongoing air blowing started at 12:22 p.m. due to operation setting up to drain the tank, and air blowed until 1800 hours. A total of 798 barrels of oil was drained tank. Would that be phase 1? That look as if it was phase 1, right? That is top side. So let's go to page 997. At number 3, mechanical, description, SL36, riser renewal, air blowing contents, 36 from berth 5 to 6, ongoing, air blowing started 11 a.m. due to installation of SIP plank, and air blowed until 5:30 p.m. A total of 118 barrels of oil was drained. You see that?
Yep.
Is that topside or
This is topside.
topside still?
Now, I saw in your witness statement you said you personally supervised the line operation, the line clearing operation.
Well, the final pieces.
Okay. So let's continue, Mr. Ali. Let's go to page 1002. Is that correct? Yeah, 10. Oh, sorry. I should look at 1001. Yeah. Which one? Yes, sorry. Number 1. Completed. Remove topside piping and solid blank top end going towards berth. So that is the topside was completed. Correct?
Correct.
And they started phase 2. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Then we go to 1002. You see number 1, completed 2 lengths of 6.30 hose together with length 6.45, etc. Riser to assist with phase 2 air blowing. So it shows air blowing has started. And then you go to number 4.
Correct.
Level was checked and pipe estimated to be 3/4 full with oil content. You see that?
I saw that. Yeah.
Right. Then we go to 1003. 2nd February, mechanical, number 1. Phase 2 air blowing description. Air blowing was conducted between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Onshore noted that they received 276 barrels of oil. Started air blowing 11 a.m. due to lining up of tanks and waiting for pressure to build up. You see that?
I do.
Huh?
Yep.
Yes. Then you go to number 5. Draining contents of SL36 into slop barge, connect hose, etc., etc. 2 slop barge was filled approximately 100 barrels of oil. See that?
I see that, yeah.
Mr. Ali, that's much more than 60 barrels, am I correct?
A lot more.
Yes. Then we go to page 1004. On the 3rd of February, number 1, phase 2, air blowing description. Air blowing was conducted between 1300 hours to 1500 hours. Onshore noted that they received 55 barrels of oil. Note stated air blowing 1300 hours due to waiting onshore, etc., etc. And then we go to number 5. Well, number 4 and number 5. Level was checked at number 4 after draining, and oil content was approximately 8 feet. 8 feet below T on riser. What that means?
So this is not my report.
No. But do you know what 8 feet on T riser means? In the oil industry, in your business, what it means?
Like I said, this is not my report.
I know.
The figures here are all over the place. But item 4 there will confirm what I was saying all the time. When we measure the ullage, he's saying 8 feet here below the T. The T was the top of the riser. So if you measure down from the top of the riser, the oil was 8 feet below the T.
Below the T.
Below the T. The T was at the top of the riser.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I see he goes on to say 2 barrels full, approximately 100 barrels. Well, a barrel full was 25 barrels. Not
okay, but it says so 100 barrels.
Yeah, but he's estimating from whoever is
Okay.
2 barrels full. But
Okay. And then we go to page 1005.
No, hang on a second. 2 slot barges, you say represents
About
25
50
each
barrels.
barge, so that would be
about 50 barrels.
50, not 100. But
Not
whoever's
100,
put
yeah.
this down has got that wrong, you think?
Yeah, sorry.
Whoever's written down 100 barrels has got it wrong.
Well,
It
he's
should
making a
be
wrong
50.
estimate here.
Yes.
If there can't be 2 sub barge full and 100 barrels of the chamber.
But they might have got the number of stop barges wrong rather than the number of barrels.
Well, I think we said where we put a 2.5 sub barge full.
Right.
In my statement.
Do we need a break now then? I'm afraid we're going to need to take a short break. I was hoping to finish this bit, but we can't, I'm afraid. So, such is life. We're going to have to break off just for 10 minutes, all right? Normally we have a longer break.
We don't want to finish just this little item here.
Apparently not. So we will have to take the break now, all right? And so as not to embarrass anyone, go, right? Oh, sorry, I have, right? Forgive me.
Oh, well.
Yes, please, if you'll go with the...
The winning numbers